So I've made some changes to this, some tweaks, some really important ones. So I bought a really cheap chain guide, or I think it was on Amazon. It was really cheap, that's between 7 and 12 quid, something like that. And this is the only part I needed. But then what I did was I got vintage Meccano. Meccano is like a building set for kids in the UK. I think you've got an equivalent in America as well. And it's galvanized mild steel. And it's these just flat pieces with holes drilled in at regular intervals. And I bent that around and I coated it in silicone using a technique I just literally invented on the fly, using silicone tape which bonds to itself, which is wider than this piece of bar here, and I created a seal around it and basically coated the whole thing in silicone. So now it's got a galvanized and silicone coating. It shouldn't ever rot. I had to drill this, but not in a structural area, but it was still terrifying. It's not something I like to do. All this sort of magnesium files flying up everywhere, thinking, what am I doing to my bike? But it was fine. I've also changed the graphics here on my bike, so I've changed the sort of corporate ID, my logo for Grey Cell. I've got a double winged or double serifed version of it now, which I think looks nicer. I've also changed the branding at the back. I've kind of thickened up the borders around the XTBE logo with a nice offset shadow on the E. And another thing I found when I was riding off-road, there was lots of vibration along here, and it chipped just at this edge. So I did another graphic in my Photoshop equivalent, and I moved the E along here so it forms so you see it along the middle of the top tube, and it draws your attention to the hinge, which is access to the battery, and also it's part of the XTB sort of criteria I made up, which is folding if possible. So I thought it was quite a nice trick, and it looks kind of cool. It looks like a kind of race livery. I like the way it curls around the edge, which does two things. It looks cool, attracts the attention to the hinge, which I thought was quite nice, and also it masks the fact that it's starting to chip along the edge here where it vibrates from the off-road use that I'm putting this to, or using it for. What else did I do? So I added some little E logos on some of the detail parts just to lift it a bit, because it looks a bit generic, and I think it looks nice. It goes with the grey, the whole grey black theme, Grey Cell, all of that. Grey on the shifter, and it just seems to lift it a bit like the kind of Coda, logos you get on Canadale gear, which I quite like. Put a different sort of more squat version of the front logo on the front as well, again with the double wings, sort of Roman standard double serif look, and I branded the little lamp as well with an E logo, which I thought was quite fun. What else have I added? Yeah, at the back, because there was chain slap, I added this foam pad that stops the chain slapping against the swing arm. And the way I did that was I laminated 2 bits of foam which were circular, and they were for some gym equipment I was using, but I didn't use the foam. And I laminated them with a glue gun, and then I got some. I'll see if I can look under here, see if I can get the phone. Not very good, this phone. The phone camera to focus, but if you look, it's kind of shiny there. What you've got there is a strip of paint protector, and I laminated the foam to the outside of the paint protector, and then used the paint protector to stick to the frame. So effectively, you've got a self-adhesive pad, which seemed to work really well, because I didn't want anything I wanted, to bolt on or anything that was permanent. Just something I can whip off if it's problematic and it doesn't work. But that's working really well. I've also got a Bikini Fender at the back as well. This is from the Charles bike I bought as a donor bike for my micro pedal flow, and it came with this really silly little mud guard, but it looks quite cool on here. And what I did was I had to buy spare parts. So there's the part that runs under this part here is kind of handed and mimicked on this, and when you put them together you get this way to attach it to a single bolt here, because it originally had a loop which attaches to a seat post, but I wanted it to attach to the hole that was set here for additions for the bike, and I just hoped this part would be the same size and have the same kind of interlocking crenellations here, and it just did, which is great. I got this on eBay. It was really cheap, maybe about 3 quid or something from China. I had to cut it down here so it didn't interfere with this, and it just worked out fine, and I can adjust this now. So I've got this cool little Bikini Fender on the back, but yeah, I think that's all the additions I've made to it now. So the tweaks are all done. Oh no, there are more. I got a new seat, this Dunlop seat. It's only £11 on eBay, which is a fantastic value, I thought. The other seat I had was really light and comfortable, but not comfortable enough off-road. This is really beautiful, really, really comfortable off-road. Really plush, there's loads of foam and loads of give in that. I didn't realise how rough and painful it was actually when you go off-road and you're sitting down. And with this bike, because it's got a URT suspension design, it's more active when you sit. And I also got rid of the adjustable seat post and put this original one back on, which is really high quality. It's got a nice machined attachment part here, and I put a bigger version of the E logo on there because I thought we'd match up and look nice. Yeah, and I've got my adapter here for my 360 cam, which is handy because when I flip the bike upside down to work on it, that protects this from being smashed up, which is always nice, you know, not smashing up your electrical components. Is it still working? Yes, it is still working. Let's turn the lamp on. It's got a really bright lamp on the front of this. It's really quite good. I was really surprised because when the cadence sensor got disconnected from the crenellated sensor or magnets or whatever are on the bottom bracket, I lost power, but I just thought I had low power, and I was going down in battery. So I was riding the bike for a good half an hour or 20 minutes without any power assistance, up hills, off road, and it felt fine. It actually was just as easy to ride as my mountain bike, which I've just dismantled, which was more than £10 lighter, which is really strange. I'm not sure whether it's got something to do with having small wheels, but this thing is fine because I use the gears. I've got 6 gears there, so because I had 6 gears, and I've got 9 on my mountain bike, but it actually felt easier to ride uphill than my mountain bike, and that was really strange. At least I know if I haven't got power, this is as easy to ride as just about any other bike. So I thought that was a really interesting thing to talk about, and it really took me by surprise, and I'm very pleased with that because this is going to be kind of my do-all bike, at least for the time being, now that I've got my mountain bike up for sale. So, and this thing I reckon you can easily get 20 miles out of this on the battery. Talking about battery, the battery rattles in here, and this is one of the things that happens with a lot of e-bikes, but I found a way to get rid of that. Right, so if you look there, you've got this grommet. If I pull that out, oh, it's going to smash. It's going to smash. All right, let's ease it down. Ease down your weather transaxle. Now that's a quote from Aliens. I am that old. Right, if you pull out this, it's quite a thick grommet like that. So what I did was I put one pressed against the top of the battery inside and one pressed against the side. So you've still got the heatsink properties. You've still got that, but in certain parts there's some pressure on it to push it up against, you know, the wall of because this is ribbed inside for strength, but also it creates a kind of heat sink for the battery. So you've still got that contact metal on metal, but you've also got some rubber pushing against it, so it's not rattling. And what that means is when I'm riding, it doesn't rattle at all, which is fantastic because it sounds really cheap and nasty when it rattles. But 2 of those bunged in here actually worked really well. But anyway, yeah, and so this is the cadence sensor, and what I did to make sure that doesn't pop off again is I don't know if you can see it there. Let's adjust the camera. Yeah, I got a box of washers from Amazon, and I found the right size one, and I cut it in half down the edge, and I pressed it against this, between this and the crank, which creates a bit more water sealing, but also keeps constant pressure on the cadence sensor to press it into the sensor or the magnets inside the bottom bracket, and it means that I've always got drive, so that really solved that problem. And because it's rubber, it's smooth, it doesn't make any noise, and it doesn't grind on any paintwork or foul on anything. Everything is working really well now. I've tested this chain guard here through all my gears, and if you look down here you can see I've got enough space to move it this way and that way as the gears go up and down the cassette, and there's a tiny bit of rub, but I found on my last bike that was fine because after a while it creates its own groove and it's fine. But when it hops around, it shouldn't come off now, so that's that problem solved. Gears are working okay. This is really handy, that's been really helpful. So yeah, I think that's the latest dates for it, in terms of tweaks and just refining it really. Be great to know your comments and what you make of that silicone sealing. I've got a spare one here so you can look at it. I silicone sealed my Meccano homemade bracket for my front chain guard. And I was just really, it's one of those things that came to me as I was just walking around thinking, hang on a minute, that self-sticking silicone tape, that's wider than my Meccano. If I wrap it around the edges, it will create a seal and effectively seal the whole thing like a wrap. And it worked. So super happy with that. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has done anything like that, but I'm sure this has got such cool properties, this silicone tape. But yeah, there it is. Hopefully that was interesting, informative and fun in some way, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.